On that same topic, let's find out now in terms of what's happening on the ground and getting updates and insights. And joining us live from Tanzania is SABC correspondent Isaac Lukando. And we want to look into voter turnout and developments as the day unfolds. Of course, Tanzanians heading to the polls. Polls are set to be opened at 8 o'clock South African time. And good morning, Isaac, and hope you're well there.
Yeah, I'm well. Thank you for having me.
How would you describe the atmosphere on the ground as you see it currently, just before polls open in about an hour, less than?
Well, you mentioned South African time, East African time. It's past 8 o'clock, actually 8:13 at the moment, and polls have opened for uh, just over an hour right now. I was fortunate to be at one of those polling stations, and the particular polling station that I went to had sub-polling stations, several of them, more than 10 of them in one place. So I got to witness the voting exercise commence. People have turned out to vote. We managed to engage with the electoral officials there who, just before the polling began, showed us empty ballot boxes. They sealed them right before us, and voting commenced in an orderly fashion. Um, the interesting thing about the way the elections are organized, especially at the polling stations, is that they've created these sub-polling stations within a polling station to enable to sort of break down the numbers in the sense that people shouldn't have long queues or have to wait in long queues. And so this is what we've witnessed today. And this is something they started experimenting with in 2020. And we've seen it sort of be expanded in this particular election. So you don't see long lines, but you see people coming in and going out, coming in and going out. Managed to go to other polling stations. It seems it's the same case with the substations, the smaller voting polling stations, I would say, where you have individuals coming in and going out. So with the observation over the last 1 hour, things seem to be going well. We know from a survey that was conducted by the Center for International Policy. Their survey recently suggested that 83% of those they surveyed were going to show up for the polls. The only way we can actually know who has come out, how many people have come out, is when we get official figures from the Independent Electoral Commission. But so far, things appear to be calm, appear to be peaceful, and people are turning out to vote. We're waiting to see how the day pans out.
Chadema and ACT Wazalendo have boycotted. Those are the main oppositions in the country. They've cited a crackdown on dissent as a result of their boycotting, and several opposition figures have also been banned from standing. So, any indication in terms of how citizens are feeling about voting today, given that particular backdrop, that this political climate and barring of opposition leaders remains in place?
Oh, that's an interesting point you raise. Certainly, with the people that we've spoken to, they haven't. It hasn't been of much concern really, and it stems from the fact that earlier on in the year there was sort of division within Chadema, where the chairman of the party was ousted, and sort of you saw a splinter in Chadema with a large portion of the members of Chadema moving towards another party, which is Chauma, which is now taking part in this election, and with that splinter, you see opinions divided even amongst the population. They feel that the opposition is weakened amongst themselves and therefore cannot present a strong front to challenge the ruling party, which many believe is in a strong position to continue its position of power in the country. And so most people have gone out to vote. aware of that situation. They haven't been able to galvanize most of their base, as you would see in other elections, because of that splinter. Some of the people that left Chadema went to ACT Wazalendo. Some of them went to Chauma. And you hear discussions from analysts of how this has created a weakened opposition, and of course to the advantage of the ruling party. So in terms of people voting going into this election, analysts were saying that obviously CCM has a very strong position coming into this election, and so most people may be in a position to predict the outcome of this election.
Social media has also had its influence as far as the build up to these elections. So, have you seen any commentary, any sharing of information in those platforms such as TikTok and X this morning?
Well, no. In terms of X, authorities had shut down X some time back, citing um, indecency that was being channeled through that platform, and this was quite a while back. So, in terms of receiving information from there, not really. But authorities have also warned against misinformation, and we've been seeing, different pieces of information regarding the election. And authorities have said that the public should rely, and especially when it comes to the election, should rely on the Independent Electoral Commission for any information that pertains to the election. And so, from the start today, we haven't seen much chatter there. We want to monitor and see how the day pans out. But so far, people are turning out, and we'll see how things go in the course of the day.
Right, and main concerns, as far as you know, I mean, in terms of what you've observed, security officials, election officials, they seem ready. And what other challenges could you foresee in the day as it unfolds?
Well, we from based on what we have seen, don't expect much challenge, because in the run up to the election, the authorities told us that they had prepared much more than they had in the last election. Just before the election, they had an opportunity to sit down with observers, particularly from the AU. They've got about 72 observers from 31 countries that are already here. And one of the areas I saw a SADC delegation as well of observers. Would like to hear from them what they have observed in terms of how smoothly things are working. But on the ground, what we have seen so far, what the Electoral Commission told us they had managed to achieve in terms of feeding the 99,000 plus polling stations across mainland Tanzania and Zanzibar with equipment and the officials to facilitate the voting process. That seems, at least in the number of polling stations that we've managed, the few polling stations that we've gone to, it seems to be going well. But we look towards the day, and of course even the observers to give us an insight into what they have been able to witness. So from the way things have started off today, things appear to be calm, things appear to be flowing smoothly. So we expect that to pan out through the day. But in case of anything, we should be hearing from the observers as well to give us an insight into how they have viewed the election.
Thank you, Isaac, for your update. Isaac
Thank you.
Lukando is SABC's correspondent in Tanzania, giving us a picture of the election atmosphere as citizens have started heading to the polls to vote in the country, Tanzania.
Get the news.